there's this funny thing about change. The reason that most of us change in some way is because we're looking to find better things in our lives. We want to feel better, we want to do better, and we really just want something different than what we've had before. Not everybody who wants to change has been in a bad place. Some people are in a good place and decide they want something else. Maybe they already live in what they thought was their perfect house and decided, you know what, it's not as perfect as I want it. I'm going to go try something else. It could be the same with a job. It could be the same with almost anything. In my case, I had to start trying to make some changes because I had pretty much a rough 3 years. And of course, I did a video a couple weeks ago where I talked about the 6-month anniversary of my mother passing and the whole thing that I went through after she passed. There was a lot of bad stuff going on in my head and in my life personally. And I had to get out of that because I knew I couldn't stay in that space forever. So what I did was I decided I was going to make some positive changes because, you know, why make negative changes? I was already there. So I decided I was going to make some. And one of the things you find out if you're actually paying attention is that sometimes, probably way more than half of the times, when you make good changes and you go to new habits that are good for you, sometimes there's some bad things that come out of it. Hopefully it's not too bad, but I guess that's just how the world ends up balancing itself. So I want to talk about some of the good things that I started to do first. By the way, I hope that you look at this video as something that compels you to say, you know what, I'm ready to make some good changes in my life. You don't necessarily have to do what I've done because there's some of these things that I've had to do that don't impact you at all. And that's the good stuff and the bad stuff. So here's the first one. I realized I had to change my sleep processes. I have sleep apnea. I have been using a CPAP since 2007. And one of the things that's weird is that before I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, I used to have this thing where I could not sleep unless there was noise being made in the background. Now, when I was home, that was pretty easy because I would turn on the fan, and for whatever reason, the fan was just relaxing. It turns out that if you go on YouTube, you'll find a whole bunch of relaxing videos that are fan noises. Some are way too loud, some are really weird, but I got lucky in the fact that my fan had 3 settings, so I could change to one of those, and I was sleeping well. Then somewhere along the way, actually I know what happened, I started traveling for work. I'm an independent consultant, and you didn't have fans in the hotel rooms. And I had trouble sleeping, especially when I had the CPAP. Because I started with a CPAP, then I went to a BiPAP machine, but still, it's noise. It's right there, close to your ears. And so I had all kind of trouble sleeping. So what did I do? I went to earplugs, because earplugs blocked all outside noise. And that works pretty well for a very long time. However, one of the issues that started happening is I developed a weird type of tinnitus, which basically said that I always heard this sound in my head. It's this beat. And if I don't have any other kind of music playing or I'm not talking, not having a conversation, I hear this beat. And it always is the same 4x4 beat. Any of y'all who are not in music, 4x4 is what most music comes out to be, you know, the doom, 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 doom. If you're talking about waltzes, it's a 3x4. Doom, dun, dun, doom, dun, dun. How about that? You got a music lesson. Anyway, I was always hearing that same noise. And one of the things that happened is when I was putting in the earplugs to block all outside noise, the pounding in my head got worse. And the pounding in my head made my, because it was coming from my heart, then it just made that even stronger. I couldn't sleep. So I decided it was time to try to find ways to get rid of that. What I did is I started with my tablet and I went to YouTube and I put on different sounds at night. So I tried the one with the fire, the fireplace crackling, whatever. That didn't work so well. I tried one with rain, which used to work really well. Rain and thunderstorms wouldn't work. Eventually, I settled initially on waves, water rushing up on the land. I tried the one with the ocean. That one didn't work so well. I tried one on a beach, which worked a lot better. I tried one for a lake, a small lake, and that actually worked as well as small waterfalls. Niagara Falls didn't work, but small waterfalls. I seemed like I needed some kind of alteration. That worked for maybe a week, and then that wasn't working anymore. So what I decided to do was, you know what, let's see what happens if I try to go to sleep without anything in my ears and without any sound in the background. And that kind of started to work. So right now, I'm in a pattern where I sleep without anything in the background. I sleep without anything in my ears. One thing I haven't been able to change is I still put a pillow on top of my head, on top. Now I'm laying down on my side, so I have to feel something on my head. I don't know why. Maybe that's just an adult's way of hiding under the blanket from the monsters. I don't know. Anyway, I've been sleeping a lot better that way. Not always, but a lot better. I've been averaging between 5.5 and a little more than 6 hours a night. However, I had a couple of nights last week, one where I slept an hour and 47 minutes. That was it. And the other night, it was 2 hours and 29 minutes. And luckily that day I was able to get a nap, which helped out some. So it's not perfect, but all in all, I'm still averaging much higher than I averaged for about 4 or 5 years. So I'll take that. What I also did to try to help out was I reduced caffeine, because I start every morning with tea, not coffee, with tea. And it was caffeinated. And then when I went to drink anything else, it was caffeinated soda. Whether it was at home or whether it was at a restaurant, it was all caffeinated. All the way up until late at night. For instance, if I had a snack that wasn't sweet, then I would have this snack and I would drink diet soda, because it's always diet soda. I'm diabetic, but it was still caffeinated. So I wondered if that was messing with my sleep patterns. That one I'm still not so sure about, because I didn't ever think that I had trouble falling asleep before. I had trouble staying asleep. Now I sometimes have more trouble falling asleep. I sleep a little better, or a little longer, but falling asleep used to be just like, okay, I'm tired, I'm falling asleep. Even if I only slept 3 hours, I fell asleep quickly. Doesn't happen the same way anymore. So it's something I have to consider. But I reduced the caffeine. I didn't totally get rid of it. Actually, I did for a little while, and then I started noticing myself going out somewhere, deciding I don't want to keep drinking water. So give me a diet soda, because I had to make a decision between diet soda or soda with sugar in it. And I decided the diet soda is probably better for me. Still, I did that. Next thing I did is I decided I was going to shower every single morning when I got out of bed. Now that sounds a little weird, but I work from home. I'm self-employed. You know, I'm an independent consultant. Right now, I'm working on a project on my own. And so I don't have to leave the house. I mean, I've had times where I haven't left the house for days at a time. So I didn't think about showering. But my thought process became, let's see what happens if I start the morning when I get out of bed with a shower. So I have I have showered 10 days in a row. First time I get out of bed. And I got to tell you, that actually feels pretty good. I had forgotten what it was like. When I was employed, I had to shower every day before I went to work. And when I'm consulting and I was on the road, I had to shower in the hotel before I went. But this is a totally different animal, because I'm showering for me, and it feels pretty good. So that's something to try. The next thing I do, and I was doing this for a while and then I stopped and I'm doing it again, is I'm making my bed every morning. So I read something that said that when you first get out of bed, you shouldn't pull the covers over because you got stuff. We'll just call them, I don't want to call them bugs because I hate bugs. Whatever it is. There's stuff that's there in the bed. It says if you leave it open to air, it will kill whatever is there, if there's anything there. Ooh, that's just nasty to think about. But it will kill it within 2 or 3 minutes, as long as you do that. So I'm getting out of bed. I'm going in the shower, leaving it as it is. When I come back, I make the bed. That's kind of neat, because it's true that you always feel better when you get into a bed after you've pulled the covers back than leaving them open all day long and you just go lay down. So that's something new I'm doing. Eating a small breakfast. Breakfast used to be one of those meals where I almost never ate breakfast. I just didn't really think about it. I would make my tea, I would drink my tea. The only time I ate breakfast beforehand, most of the time, was if I went out for breakfast, because either I didn't want to cook or it was something I don't know how to make, like waffles. I don't know how to make waffles. Sorry about that. So I started saying, you know what, I need to have something in the morning. So I started buying bagels. And then I realized regular bagels aren't going to get it done, so I bought soft bagels. And I put them in the toaster, one bagel, because they're huge. And then I put butter on it, then I put peanut butter, because I love peanut butter. I think we've said this before. So the thing about a bagel as opposed to bread and making toast is that the bagel's always heavier. So if I have that bagel in the morning, then it lasts for a little longer. And I thought that was a good thing to do. So I started doing that. That seems to give me some sustenance for a while longer, and I like that. Then keeping my desk clean. So I sat down with another project that says I am going to totally clean my desk off. So I cleaned my desk off. I got some polish because it's a beautiful wood desk, and I polished it all up. And I said I'm going to keep it like this. And as of Monday, so it was a couple days ago, it had been 4 straight weeks. Every single day, at the end of the day, my desk was totally clean. It didn't mean I didn't get things done, because I got a lot of things done. But if I put something on top of the desk where I had to do something with it, end of the day, it ain't on the desk anymore. It's gone. It's been taken care of. And things like bills or stuff that comes in the mail, if I've already taken care of that, the shredder's right over there. I just walk over, I just put it in the shredder. Instead of making piles of stuff and then deciding, okay, today's the day where I'm going to shred everything. It's so much easier. You know, that's another pattern, is addressing certain things earlier than I have before. Folding clothes. There's a guy, Orlando, who's a longtime viewer. And I had mentioned in a video a couple of years ago that one of the things I need to do, but I didn't do, is I would wash my clothes and I'd put them in a basket and put them there in the bedroom, and then they'd probably sit there for a couple of weeks because I had so many clothes that I didn't have to wash every single week. And he said, that sounds like something you do in college. So I decided it's time to handle that better. So I started folding my clothes the day I take them out of the dryer. I have to put it that way because there's times where I put everything in the dryer on one day, usually either late afternoon or sometime in the evening, and I don't go get the clothes until the next day. But if I go get the clothes now, I bring them into the bedroom and I fold them up, or I hang up what needs to be hung up. So now I can take that basket and put it back in the laundry area, and I don't have this basket of clothes that are sitting there. And it turns out by doing that, I found out I actually have 14 pairs of pants that are legit that I can wear all the time. That's a weird story. I'm not even going to get into that. Still, it's something that I don't have to do, again, because I've already taken care of that. And it helps to keep my bedroom looking neater. So that's kind of cool. Keeping the kitchen clean. This one is tough. This is one of the reasons I don't like to cook. I like what I cook, but I hate having to go back and clean stuff, especially when I use more than 2 things that I'm cooking in. If I have to use a skillet and a pot, I just put it in the sink forever. Still, I've decided, you know what? I'm going to start washing this stuff every single night. So every night I wash everything that's in the kitchen so that in the morning when I come in there, totally clean. I start all over. There are times where I'm cleaning during the day. It's a small thing. For instance, if I make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, you know that peanut butter thing comes up a lot. But if I make peanut butter and jelly sandwich, I go back, I wash the knife right then and there, and then put it in the thing so that utensils dry. And now I don't have to wash anything. So that's something I've been doing. I'm still using my planner. Every other year that I've had a planner, and I've been buying planners since, 2012, 2013. Actually, I used to have an electronic planner on my Palm Pilot. Yeah, I had a Palm Pilot. We all had Palm Pilots back in the mid-2000s. Don't hate on me. Anyway, I've still been using my planner. This is March. I started actually with the original planner, or my last planner. I started the last week of December because I wanted to get into that habit. And now I'm still using it. I've bought different types of stickers. Most of them are not geared towards men, which needs to be rectified at some point. But I buy these stickers. I go through different, I go through them to see what's more man-centric or male-centric, I guess I'll say. And then I put them on there. Or I bought stars. I bought, regular kind of stars, metallic stars. Then I bought some other stars that have cool patterns on them. And I put these on here. And it's just something else that makes me feel like, yes, it's helping me to keep going. So that's big. But the biggest thing I've done is I've started leaving the house. Because for the longest time, I did not want to leave the house. I can understand that. I hadn't really been able to leave the house when Mom was here over 3 years unless someone else was in the house. And then suddenly there's nobody in the house but me. And I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be seen. We had the Omicron variant that suddenly blew up in this area. And even though I still wore my mask, I didn't want to go out a lot. I still had to go to the store, but that was different. Me and the store share a backyard. So I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be with anybody. But I've gotten over that a little bit. I don't go out with people all that often, but I have called some people and I've met them out for either lunch or dinner. There's one person who I will probably set up for breakfast with because otherwise we don't agree on food, but still, that's going to come. So I've done that and I've been able to go out a little bit more if I'm in the mood. But I need to kind of calm that down because now I'm going to talk about some of the bad things that have happened because all those have been good things. So let's talk about some of the bad things. Let's see if I can rush through these really quickly. One of the worst things I've done, although there's a good reason for it, is that I've spent hours working on my project. I'm basically creating an educational site for healthcare revenue cycle. Means nothing to 99.8% of you. In essence, this is stuff that I consult on that there's not a lot of people who know all of these things that I know. And that may sound like bragging, and I don't know what I'm talking about. The truth of the matter is that the only reason I know about all this stuff and all these different areas and what has helped me to be a good consultant is that when I was an employee, I wanted to learn what all the different departments did. And I've worked in hospitals. I've worked in physician billing where I was a regional director. I've worked in what they call FQHCs, which is Federally Qualified Health Center. Boy, try saying that fast a whole bunch of times. I have done a lot. I've worked with physicians. I was a corporate compliance officer. There's a lot of stuff I have done. I helped one hospital in 1 year increase their revenue by $731 million, 53 weeks. It was more than 100% increase in revenue. Yeah, that was me. I put 730 on the website because 731 just sounded really weird. But still, I've done that. Every hospital that I've gone to as a consultant in revenue cycle has increased their revenue within a short period of time because of stuff I've done. And I've helped to keep some of them from having Medicare or the Office of Inspector General come in and hit them up for fraud and all other kind of stuff. There's a lot of things I know. So I've been working on that. And it turns out that putting together the content is the easy part. Dealing with the software has been murder. Because I'm one of those people who knows coding kind of well. But I bought a new theme. However, I'd been using pretty much the same theme since 2008. And I knew everything about that one. And now they've got these new themes that have new coding. And it's hard for me to find everything that I'm trying to change. That and the software that I'm using to help me do this site, they give you little mini ideas on how to do something, but they never tell you what to do if something ain't working. So I'm working with a guy who knows a lot about this software. And even here, yesterday, he was here sitting with me trying to work on this thing. And we got to one thing. I said, this is very important. I need to know how to do this. And it wouldn't work for him. So he's contacting the company because he's got a relationship with them. So anyhow, I've been putting in a whole bunch of hours on this thing, and I've still got more hours to go, but at least I've got the content. So when we solve a couple of these issues, I'll be ready to go. But this just shows the dedication, because if I can do anything to make a good amount of money at home without having to go on the road or find a job, which is not going to come close to paying me the kind of money I'm used to making, then I will give all the time I need. But that's bad because that has made me miss meals and some other things. For instance, one of the things, the second thing here is forgetting to eat lunch. So if I've put 7 or 9 straight hours into doing one other thing, skipping lunch is bad. I did mention that I'm eating something in the morning for breakfast, but that's not sustainable for hours upon hours. And so what would happen is that you get to early afternoon and suddenly I'm crashing. Diabetic crash. That basically means that your glucose level has dropped drastically. And this is after I've taken medication, regular medication, and insulin. Because that's what insulin's job is to try to make sure your glucose comes down because you've had too much. But if I haven't had that much, it's a bad feeling. Just take my word for that. So I would eat lunch if I left the house, which was a good thing, except for the time period where I wasn't leaving the house. So it's just one of those kind of things where I have to remember that if I'm staying in the house, or if I'm willing to get in the car, just drive over to McDonald's, which is a minute and a half away, get myself a fish sandwich and some fries, at least I'm not going to crash, and I'm not going to get dizzy, and I'll still be able to do other stuff. Measuring my insulin has become really problematic because of, well, the bad eating patterns. So, for instance, if I do eat out, most of the time I go to Texas Roadhouse because they have the filet mignon where I can get mashed potatoes and corn, and the filet mignon is only 330 calories for 6 ounce. That's enough. And with the other two things, basically it's an entire meal that comes in around 700 calories. That's not bad. And if I'm calling it lunch, but a lot of times it's very early dinner. For most of the days during the week, dinner starts at 4 o'clock, but there's not a lot of people then. So I can go at that point. But on Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, you can go at noon. And once again, there's not many people. So that's been good. But if I miss that, then I get to the evening. I'm trying to figure out, okay, geez, what do I eat now? Because the easiest thing in the world is eating stuff that's carbs. Grab me some Ritz crackers, making some popcorn, whatever. Everything is mainly carbs at night. That's why going to Texas Roadhouse works, because at least the filet mignon is protein. So me trying to figure out the balance between how much protein I've eaten and how much carbs I'm eating makes me not measure the insulin properly. That's why I've been having a lot of evening crashes, because you think, okay, I've eaten a whole lot of carbs. That's going to drag my glucose really high. So I need to balance that with more insulin. Doesn't work that way. But at the same time, I can't put too little because it'll come down some, but not enough. And then I wake up in the morning, it's really high. I have to figure that one out. And I think that it's because of my problem with my eating that my weight has gone up. Since the beginning of the year, I've gained about 10 pounds. And considering I had lost 70 over the course of, I think, 7 or 8 years, that's bothersome. I'm still not in a bad zone, but I think the weight gain is messing with me because my blood pressure is higher than it used to be. My blood pressure has always been perfect, almost spot on. And now it's running a little higher. I'm not happy with that. And I'm walking less. I still put in the time, but I'm walking slower. I'm not getting in as many steps or hours. I'll just give you an example of this. Let's go back to January. In January, I was averaging 8.5 miles a day walking. All in the house, unless I went to the mall, but still 8.5 miles a day. Now I'm averaging 7.3 miles a day. That doesn't really sound like a lot to a lot of people. You're like, well, wait, 7 miles a day is still pretty good. But I don't think that has worked for me as well. I mean, I was walking till I wrote the number down, 8,355 steps a day on average. And now I'm down to 15,582. I don't know, but like I said, I walk slower now. I just feel like a little heavy and a little sluggish. So I have some things I need to take care of. But you can still look at it and say, well, you've done a lot of good things. There's a lot of good changes. There's some stuff that you have done that you should applaud yourself for. And I have. But there's those other things that says, but I need to keep an eye on this and this and this. And I need to address some of these other things because it doesn't do any good to have a whole lot of new habits and then have a lot of bad things coming your way. That's my thought on it anyway. Yes, it's turned out to be long, but I guess I just don't really know how to make short videos all that often. I'm trying. I'm working on that. Anyway, I hope you stuck around for a lot of this. You probably didn't make it to the end, but that's okay. But let me know your thoughts on some of the stuff I've mentioned here. I don't know if any of it really fits the timestamp thing, but if it does, you'll see it. That's all I got. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I'd love it if you subscribed. I'd love it if you had a comment. Let me know what you're doing. We'll talk later. Y'all take care.